I'll never forget this. I was 14 years old. My life was an absolute mess. My grandparents were having to financially support my mom and myself. Our home was in early stage foreclosure. We had debt collectors like knocking down our door every single day. But I knew that no matter what, I had to figure out a way to contribute to get ourselves out of these horrible life circumstances. And here's what I did. Very early at like 14 years old, again, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm just go get up and get a job. But unfortunately, there's like labor laws. Y'all, there's labor laws that let 14-year-olds only work like, I don't know, it was a ridiculously low amount. Like let's say 5 to 10 hours, all right? And I did the math on if I worked at my local grocery store, who a friend of a friend also worked at the grocery store at 14 or 15, whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna figure out how much I could make. And y'all, it was very depressing. I could make enough to pay, I think, half of our electric bill, maybe our full electric bill. But lo and behold, it was not enough to really motivate me and satisfy me. So that's why I decided I had to figure out a way to make it online. People ask me time and time again, Tanner, what was your drive? What was your why to build your business so early on? And it was really just to contribute to help get out of our current life circumstance of the time. I really didn't have an option. I had to find a way to work for myself. And this brings me to one of my favorite points, is that I did not want anyone else to be in control of my earning potential or how many hours I could work or any of that. And that was something I learned so early on that I am so grateful to have done and pushed through by not having the opportunity given to me by the limitations of other companies, laws, so what have you. I realized I was just going to figure it out, whether it was going to take a long time or not. I just decided I was going to figure out a way to make money for myself and for me to be truly in control of my income. So at the age of 14, I was on a journey to earn a full-time income in 12 months. Now at the time, I had just met my wife, Courtney, who was not my wife, just a random girl on the internet at the time. And we had started a teen crafting blog. And one of the things that I did, which I literally cannot believe my past self did, was this, and this should help you a ton. I went to my grandparents' house and I had a jug of money that I had been collecting for years. And my grandparents started it for me. I feel like we all have one of these, right? And I decided that I was going to bust open the jug and I was go cash in the money from the jug. And after I did, it was about $400. And I asked myself, what is the highest leverage I could do with this $400? And I think it's very important that you all remember I'm 14. And what I had decided was I had met someone at a conference, same conference I met Courtney at, working, and I decided she was local to me, which was really cool, and she was doing this full time. So Tanner was like, oh my gosh, she's doing it, she's friendly, I love her, shout out to Margot Potter, I love you, miss you. But I was like, I'm going to invite her to dinner, and I'm going to take her out to dinner. I was like, because here's the thing. If I can get in close proximity with someone that knows more than me, someone that knows what I don't know, that's gonna help me so much. So what did I do? I deposited my $400 in my bank account and I sent her a Facebook message. Hey Margot, I would love to learn more about what you're doing. I would love to connect. Can I take you out to dinner? And she's like, of course, Tanner, please. So we got together and I'll never forget getting to meet Margot and her family. And we all went to a place called Mellow Mushroom, and she was living in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park in this beautiful cabin, okay? We went to dinner that night and I was like, listen, Margot, I need to figure out a way to make it online. And she's like, okay, Tanner, here's what you need to do. And she gave me kind of a little action plan of if she was me, here's what she would do. And from right there, I'll never forget going back to talk to Courtney, because we had started a craft blog together. And I was like, Courtney, here's what Margot has to say. We're just going to go do that. And from there on, within 12 months, I was earning $40,000 a year just for making content online. But what is the secret that you need to understand is that I invited and I was willing to pay, whether it was for their meal or just ask people to teach me what I didn't know, to help fill in the gap and to help lead me to my next few steps. because you don't have to know everything. You just need to know what is the next step that is most needed to get you where you're wanting to go. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. I'll never forget working for a client, building a craft project out. At the time I was working for Sizzix, don't tell Cricut, but I was working for Sizzix, and I was designing this quote with their die cutting machine, which was digital, and it was like a Cricut, but it was called an Eclipse. Anybody know what I'm talking about? I was making a quote piece of art, and I found this quote, and I think God literally dropped this quote in my lap, and it was, believe you can, and you're halfway there. And what I would tell my past self is to hold on to that quote even more. Hold on to it even tighter. I thought about that quote every single day that I was living in such awful life circumstances. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm just gonna believe that I can get out of this. I believe I can achieve bigger dreams, bigger goals, things like that. And I truly decided to believe that I could get out of this. And I truly believe that is what helped propel me and cascade me out of the life circumstance I was living. But what's really fascinating is that I would tell myself to hold on even more to that thought. I would hold on even tighter to that thought, because once you believe that you can do something, you start operating out of a different kind of like protocol. You start operating in a different energy than someone that is wishy, someone that is washy. You know what I'm talking about. When you have a goal that you don't believe you can actually go after, you're not going to show up for yourself at the same level that you would when you truly sink in to what it would look like and what it would feel like to believe that you can achieve what you're going after. And if I could have pressed into that even more, I just wonder where else I would be and at what capacity, what larger capacity would have created for me in that opportunity. So what I would tell my past self is to believe that thought even deeper. And if you're in a life circumstance that you do not love, think about that. Can you believe in you're halfway there, right? Like, where do you want to go? Think about where you're wanting to go, not where you're at. Think about where you want to go. And if you believe it, then you're truly halfway there to that new goal. And that thought served me so, so well. So as I was preparing for this video, I was like, oh yeah, I would have held on to that thought like 10 times harder. I would have like kept it even closer, because I truly still today, like even today, love that thought and use it so often. Now, this next one I think will be really interesting for you guys to see how it lands, because I think a lot of you would have the same thought for past Tanner, right? A lot of people thought when I started deciding to work online full time and make this work, I transitioned out of regular brick and mortar school, I transitioned into an online school, and I really started taking it really serious. So what I want to tell you is, don't shrink your goals for yourself to fit anyone else's expectation of you. I had friends, I had family trying to tell me like, Tanner, why are you rushing this? Like, why are you trying to get yourself out of this situation? Like, why are you taking on responsibility that isn't yours to be responsible for? And ultimately, my friends, what I want you to understand is that I had a goal and I had a dream of what I wanted my life to be, and I wasn't going to just shrink myself to fit what other people recommended me to do, what other people, was telling me I should do. To be honest, I'm someone that loves to go against the grain. If you're gonna tell me why I shouldn't do something, that's gonna make me wanna do it even more and really drive me to prove you wrong. And I think that is something that I want you to just be aware of and really ask yourself, like, if you're shrinking where you want to be and what you want to go after, if you're shrinking that to fit anyone else's expectation of you, why? Like, that is one thing that I am so glad that I was so specifically okay with people disagreeing with what I was doing, and it was going to be totally fine that they had, a different expectation for me. One thing I also love to think about is when Courtney and myself would be at conferences, pitching brands, talking to them, networking, working brand deals. We never thought like, oh, we don't belong here because we're only 16, or oh, we don't belong here because we're teenagers. If you talk to anyone that experienced any time with us on a trade floor, you would understand and really get to see that we just decided we belong there, so we did. I'll never forget meeting a CEO of a very large paint company and pitching our services to them, and them actually wanting to work with us. And we landed a 6-figure brand deal being teen spokespeople for a paint company. It was an amazing opportunity. I'll never forget where I was when they like sent us the signed contract. It was like a game changer for me. And I am so grateful that I decided to go against the grain and decide that I had an opportunity here, that I fit in here, whether or not other people thought so or not wasn't really the problem. It was just that I decided to not shrink my goals down for what other people may expect for me. Ephesians 3:20 says that the Lord's plan for you is far greater and better than you can even imagine. And that's actually my quote for this year, but it's something I believe is so important for all of us to understand, that, the Lord's plan for us is bigger than we can truly think or imagine. And I think when we believe that, and when we really, study that and meditate on it, we really, can understand that we can't understand where we're going if we'll allow the ease and flow of that journey to happen, and we, kind of join in unity with the Lord over everything we're working on. And I would just remind my past self of that Bible verse, of that scripture, because it really helps us understand that, where we are today isn't where we're always going to be, and that the things that we think are unimaginable today can actually become imaginable for us in the future. I'll never forget early on trying to grow my online business. I would be with my grandparents talking to them about like what my dreams are and what my goals are. And I started asking myself, like, what if one day I would be able to make however much I at the time was making a year, and actually make that amount of money in a month? Like, what would that do for me? Like, is that even possible? And what's funny is at the time I would be like, oh my gosh, that's crazy and outlandish. But it eventually became true. Like, something that I never thought would be even remotely imaginable, creating income online, became imaginable for me as I continued to show up, as I continued to evolve and develop. And the Lord obviously has way greater plans for us than we truly can ever think or imagine. So if you haven't read that scripture, highly recommend it. Before we go on, I want to make sure that you're aware that I'm hosting a free masterclass. It is incredible, and I'm going through my entire framework on how I went from just having a hobby and turn it into my full-time job in a business aspect. I'm breaking it all down at my free masterclass. You've got to get a ticket, sign up right down below, be there, ask questions, and I can't wait to see you there. All right? Next up, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, whether it comes to how smart you are, whether it comes to financially, spiritually, business-wise, what have you, you're the average. And more studies have come out on that you will actually sink to the lowest of the 5 people, right? So it's really, sometimes I like to average it and say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and the 5 people you surround yourself with. And I think this is so important to note, especially if you're wanting to grow a business. If you are self-deciding to grow and expand, then you need to understand that the people you're surrounding yourself with is probably not the best people to help you achieve that goal. Now, it's not to say you can't be friends with them. You just want to be mindful of that, and you might want to supplement, whether it be YouTube videos like this, whether it be podcasts, whether it be courses, coaching, what have you. You really want to surround yourself with people that are doing big things that you also want to do. All right? It is very, very important. Listen to books, read the books, listen to the audio, because the more experience we can show your brain of what is possible for you, and that if it's possible for them, then it may be possible for you, then the sooner you're going to be able to close the gap, believe that it's possible for you, and start taking action in a brand new way. Another thing I would tell my past self is it's never a failure. One thing that I just subconsciously was able to decide and take action and operate from is that it was never a failure. Because if you go back to our home almost being foreclosed on, debt collectors beating down our door, little traumatic, but I didn't really have any other options. There was no plan B, and there was no one to fall back on. So in my programming, I just decided, oh, this isn't a failure. I just have the opportunity to try again. Oh, this is a time to pivot. I didn't fail, but it's time to try again. Do you notice how different like that operation is, and how different that feels, and how different it sounds? Business owners that I coach, if they try to bring something to market one time and it fails, they think, oh my gosh, I'm a failure. and it's not possible for me, and they'll give up. But what I want to tell you, my friend, and something that I think is really important in my story and my journey, is that it's never a failure. You're just learning, you're adapting, and you're going to pivot, and you're just going to show up again tomorrow. Like, that's what business is. And if you stay in it long enough, you're going to find success. It's not if you're going to find success, it's when you find success. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is that it probably takes you double the amount of time you think it's going to take to achieve a goal. So if you think you should have a goal achieved in 3 months, what if it takes 6 months? What if you thought it was 6 months and it actually takes a year? Like, would it still be worth it to you? In most cases, if you knew eventually it would work out, you don't care how long it takes. But I just want to remind you, as long as you keep showing up, that will help you achieve your goals and hit what you're trying to achieve, right? You just have to keep showing up for yourself time and time again, because it's never a failure. Okay, this last one is my favorite, so I saved it for last. Be grateful no one would hire you. Literally, past Tanner would have done anything for someone to like offer him like a really good paying job at like 18 and made it like feel super comfortable. Like, that's what I was after. And y'all, I'm so grateful for all the missing opportunity or the opportunities I wasn't presented or any of that, because I would have probably taken such a subpar job. Like, seriously, like, I would have taken any opportunity thrown my way. I'd be like, yep, sign me up. I'm going to work for someone else. I'm going to make this big for someone else. Because originally I had dreams and aspirations to, I think, do marketing for someone like at a company. Like, I thought I would work for like a craft company, like doing marketing, and I would have used all of the online experience I had as like my portfolio and my resume, and like I would get a steady job. And talking to my past self, I'm so grateful that I was unhireable. No one would hire me. And looking back, I'm so glad, because that allowed me to create my own path, to forge my own brand, to show up and sell my knowledge, and to grow the company I have today. So if you're interested in learning more, if you're ready to understand my true path from going from just someone that has a hobby and knows a lot about their hobby to promoting myself to a full-time job in my hobby, come to my free class. I cannot wait to share with you my exact story. I go way more in depth on the true journey and the steps that are required. So you'll leave with a really great foundation of understanding of how online business works. And you'll have the opportunity to talk to our success team at the end of the webinar if you're interested. So I can't wait to see you there. I hope you're enjoying these videos. Be sure to subscribe to the channel down below and leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, guys.